Most landlords waste hours juggling apps just to keep their rental finances in order. Baselane promises to fix that. Banking, rent collection, and bookkeeping, among others, all in one single place. But does it actually work, or are there hidden headaches that no one talks about? I tested it myself, and here's everything that I found. But before I even touched Baselane myself, I did what I always do. I went straight into the Baselane rent collection reviews, especially the one-star ones, because that's usually where the negative things come out, like if there's any issues with the platform, it'll usually be in the one-star reviews. So, one Baselane rent collection review stood out to me, and I just wanted to read over some, go over some details, show you what people really care about. This user shared that Baselane Banking had not delivered his debit card. He said he'd been waiting for almost a month, and all he kept hearing was just, please wait, keep waiting. Honestly, if you're relying on that card to manage rent deposits or expenses or anything else, that kind of delay can feel pretty frustrating, if not like hold your business down for a while you're waiting for it. Now, to Baselane's credit, they did reply eventually, they apologized, and they said that there'd been shipping delays from their card provider that they were working through. They even gave a direct email and promised to escalate the issue to make sure that everything was resolved. Now, that kind of response kind of matters to someone like me. It's really important to see that the company is giving feedback and trying to help. Sure, it doesn't make the wait time any shorter, but it shows that they're not just brushing off the problem and kind of trying to scam you. And here's where things get really interesting, because while that Baselane rent collection review wasn't ideal, it also wasn't the norm. I didn't see almost anything like that among the other reviews. It seems that many users just swear by the platform. One landlord said that Baselane completely changed how he managed his midterm rental business. He has been using it now for just over a year for all his banking, rent collection, and bookkeeping. And what stood out to him was how everything just worked together in one account and just worked all seamlessly. Another landlord highlighted just how easy it was to do house lease agreements, to collect rent, and how to keep separate accounts for each rental unit within the Baselane property management software. And he mentioned that Baselane just keeps rolling out new features, which is always a good sign of growth. And I saw a lot of really good reviews as well. Baselane holds a 4.4 out of 5-star rating, and that's not like perfect or anything, but I think that's actually really solid. And from what I saw, the negative feedback seems more like isolated hiccups than deal-breaking patterns, and there's a lot of good words and a lot of good reviews here instead. Now, before going through everything else, I wanted to spend some time looking at the reviews, and once I did, I wanted to see how the platform actually felt like to use. So then I signed up, connected my accounts, and tested everything from rent collection to virtual cards. And here's what stood out to me. First off, the bookkeeping tools. Baselane makes it surprisingly simple to stay on top of all your numbers. So once I linked my bank and credit card accounts, my transactions just started syncing automatically. And I could categorize every expense by different things like property. I could break it down by revenue or expense type based on Schedule E for tax time, so that's really important, or by other metrics. And it's not just about tracking the numbers either. Baselane gives you these kind of super clean visuals, automated summaries that show cash flow by property and category over time. As someone who's managing multiple units, just like seeing everything side by side, really easy, it just gave me a better grip on the financial health of all of my rentals altogether. And if you're wondering whether you have to use their banking account just to get those features, the answer is no. You can collect rent through any external bank account, but here's the catch. If you choose an outside bank, there is a $2 ACH fee for each transfer. So when you're getting that rent in, each time your tenant pays you $2, that's charged to either you or your tenant, but I didn't see a reason to do that, so I just used their banking account instead. If you open their Baselane banking checking account, that $2 fee just disappears. So that's why I ended up switching my rent collections over. It just saved me time and my tenants, so that annoying fee kind of just disappeared. Honestly, setting up the account was smooth and I didn't have to mess with anything. But next up, I wanted to talk about the rent collection feature. Once you set up that collection, your tenant gets an invite to Baselane's tenant platform. All right, so from there, they can see all their invoices, they can pay rent by ACH, debit card, or credit card, and they can even set up autopay. The whole process just felt polished and really easy for me and my tenants to kind of get along and make sure things mesh together. Here's what I appreciated as well. If a tenant pays part of the rent, Baselane knows how to allocate that without needing to create separate units. That saved me a ton of back-end work. Plus, the payments land directly into your bank account, so it's securely processed through Baselane's partner and you don't have to worry about it. One of the under-the-radar tools that I didn't expect to use, but now that I love, is the virtual cards. So Baselane basically lets you generate however many virtual cards tied to your account. And that gave me more control over spending, and it made it easier to kind of like sort expenses for each property. So I might use like a virtual card for each contractor or altogether, or I could use it for a specific category, and it just updates automatically in the bookkeeping. I also tested out their check service. Yeah, physical checks. Baselane gives you two options here. You can order a branded checkbook and send it yourself by mail, or you can actually send it through their portal. I used the mail a check feature to pay a vendor, and it costs $2 per check to send, but it did save me a trip to the mailing service, and it got the job done. I didn't have to send the check myself. If you're thinking about growing your portfolio, Baselane Property Management Platform has a loan program too. So they offer loans for things like fix and flips, B quadruple Rs, new construction, and even DSCR loans. I didn't go through the full loan process myself, but the rates looked pretty competitive, and the application form was straightforward from what I saw. Compared to other Baselane competitor platforms like Buildium or RentReady, I think Baselane definitely feels more tailored to individual landlords or small investors. Buildium, in my experience, is better for much larger portfolios. It's also more expensive and can feel bloated if you're not managing like 50 plus units. It's just one of those few platforms I've tried that combines rent collection, banking, accounting, and analytics all under one roof without being overwhelming. So that alone makes Baselane stand out. So is Baselane rent payment system and property management perfect altogether? Well, no, not quite. Like I mentioned earlier, there was that review about the debit card delay, and there were some others. I personally didn't experience that or what the others' reviews mentioned, but I can see how that could be frustrating if you're really counting on it, and then you just get this error and you have to deal with that. And I'll be honest, there is also a bit of a learning curve at first with the platform. So with all of the features packed in, it took me a couple of sessions to figure out where everything was and how to use it correctly and make sure everything was integrated. But once I got into the flow, it actually made things easier, not harder. And if you're already used to juggling multiple apps or switching from one platform to another, having this one platform that handles all of it together is a pretty big relief. Now let's look into Baselane rent collection fees. One of the first things I looked into was how much Baselane actually costs, right? And here's the deal. It's pretty reasonable. For just the core rent collection features, you're not required to pay, especially if you're collecting rent into a Baselane account. But if you're using outside accounts or you want the premium features, there might be a small fee or charges for different things depending on what you're doing. It's not like the cheapest rental property management platform out there, but it's definitely not overpriced for what you get, especially when you consider the banking perks, the automation, and just all the time that it saves. And yes, they also do promos and discounts from time to time. So I've included a link in the description that takes you to their latest pricing page, and I'll try to keep that updated so you can always get the best deal. In my opinion, Baselane isn't just another rental management app. It might actually replace your entire stack, everything along the entire horizontal workflow that you have. So it's not perfect, but it nails the important stuff. Rent collection, banking, and bookkeeping, all in one clean, focused platform. If you want, check that link in the description of this video to get started with our special discount and coupon.